My father is the scariest man I've ever known, and when armed with a bottle of beer he reaches nightmare levels. Just the crackle of his belt or a rise in his voice was enough to make me shake like a leaf. One night while I struggled to get comfortable in bed from the bruises and sounds of my mum's crying, I hatched an ingenious idea to stop the pain and suffering. Scare Dad. Clearly he just didn't know how his actions made us feel, but if I scared him like he scared us, maybe then he would change his ways. I tried anything I could think of to produce some fright and scare Dad straight. I would hide and jump out at him, but he didn't even flinch. I placed a toy snake in the toilet, but that only resulted in a beating for me. Finally, I thought of destroying his alcohol. I know that people become scared when they lose something they love, so one by one I poured my dad's bottles down the drain and eagerly awaited his reaction. I knew this would be it. This would be the thing to scare him. That night I remember my father discovering the empty bottles and becoming angrier than I've ever seen him. I remember him wrecking the house. I remember him storming into my room. I remember his hands around my neck and me seeing black. Luckily, my planning and hard work that night paid off though. Today, my father lives in constant state of fear. I'm always watching him, how timid and nervous he is at all times. Whenever I pay him a visit, his complexion turns a pasty white, his body shivers like I used to, and he breaks into a cold sweat. I scared my father so good, you would think he saw a ghost. Warning. Terrifyingly accurate. Answer these questions and discover your true self. It's late at night and I'm bored, so why not? I click the link. Instructions. Pick the answer that most accurately describes you. After 15 short questions, you will see who you really are. 1. I get scared easily, ranging from strongly agree to strongly disagree. I answer disagree. 2. I'm always around other people. I spent most of my time alone in my room. Strongly disagree. 3. I pay attention to my surroundings. I admit that I'm usually wearing earphones, blissfully unaware of my surroundings. Disagree. 4. I live alone. I dislike having roommates. Strongly agree. 5. I would know if I'm being watched. My eyes widen. What is this? Some cheap trick to scare me? Well, I'm not falling for that. Strongly agree. 6. Are you sure? Okay, test. I get it. You want to scare me. I'm not easily scared though. Strongly agree. 7. I worry a lot. Not really. Disagree. 8. I have a hyperactive imagination. Only somewhat. Agree. 9. I trust people easily. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. Strongly agree. 10. I trust people standing behind me. 10. I trust the person standing behind me. My eyes widen and I quickly turn around to check. There is nothing but an empty doorway. Is this another cheap tactic to try and scare me? Strongly disagree. 11. I'm good at running. Strongly disagree. 12. I have experience fighting. Strongly disagree. What is this test trying to imply here? 13. I love meeting strangers. Not particularly. I prefer being alone most of the time. Disagree. 14. I'm alone in my house right now. I don't have anyone visiting and I live alone. Strongly agree. 15. Are you certain? I answer that I strongly agree and then clicked a box labelled Submit Answers. Please wait while we process your results. I'm disappointed in this test. I guess it might make for a nice gag link to send to my friends. Maybe I'll get a few crude scares in. Right from the start, I knew the questions were trying to imply there was some spooky, scary thing in my room. Oh well, let's just see my results. Loading. 10%. Loading. 64%. Loading. 99%. Loading. Done. Click the link below to view your test results. I clicked the link leading to my test results, expecting to see some generic personality profile. Instead I see a picture of myself sitting at my computer, answering question 10. Shocked, I examine the picture closely, then the realisation hits me. Based on the camera angle, this picture was taken from the doorway just behind me. At 3, she jumped off the bed. At 7, she unbuckled her seatbelt. At 12, she went to a sleepover at a friend's house. At 17, she finally received her driver's license. At 26, she said yes. At 30, she went into labour. At 39, she had one last hurrah. 46, she signed the papers to make it final. At 55, he was diagnosed and had no one to share the news with. At 61, she celebrated her remission with a night out. At 22, she looked at herself in the mirror. At 87, surrounded by her family and friends, she smiled. There are moments before every tragedy, quick flashes of boredom or happiness, of the expected and unexpected. These moments I see. The little girl jumping off her parents' bed and into an unresponsive final state. Another girl attending her first sleepover, excited and giddy, only to succumb to an unknowing fatal nut allergy. The young woman whose proposal near the shoreline was poorly thought out, never allowing her to live to see her marriage. The old woman who finally divorced the man she came to loathe, and for that man to not take the finality of it all with dignity or peace. A man whose diagnosis was terminal. The woman whose 40th birthday ended in heartache and disaster. The girl whose last glimpse in the mirror was of herself, relieved, then raising a pistol to her temple. These moments, as innocuous as they seem, are the final looks to life before tragedy ultimately hits. And I watch them. I have to. It's my responsibility to take you all from this realm to the next. It's my duty, and I am sorry. I truly am. Because now, at this moment, they read the final sentences of a story. Some bored, some happy, some expecting this ending, some not. And I watch as they read these last words, fully oblivious as they are that this is their moment. Mum and Dad are fighting again. It starts with Mum muttering something about housework and ends with Dad yelling, "I'm going for a walk." Mum tries to keep it together, to pretend everything is fine. She opens her laptop and works until it's dark outside. When I come into the room, she's scrolling through old photos of the three of us together. At midnight, I hear the jingle of keys. Mum stands at the top of the stairs as Dad stumbles into the house, singing at the top of his lungs. She asks him where he's been. He shouts a rude word I'm not supposed to say. They start arguing. Again, Dad staggers towards the living room. Mum screams, "Well, you're not sleeping in my bed tonight." Dad says fine, then falls onto the couch and starts snoring. I guess Mum still loves him, because she takes off his boots and throws a blanket over him. That makes me happy. Maybe things will go back to normal soon, and then they won't have to talk about the D word again. The next day, Dad sleeps until lunchtime. He comes into the kitchen while Mum's working and pours himself a glass of water without saying a word. By bedtime, they haven't even said hello to each other. This goes on for a while. They eat at different times and sleep in separate rooms. The closest they come to talking is when Mum walks into the bathroom and Dad is walking out. They're like strangers living under the same roof. I'm afraid they'll start talking about the D word again soon. Mum walks into the garage while Dad's working on the car. She says my name and he rubs the scar on the side of his face. He turns to walk away, but Mum starts shouting. Dad storms up into the bedroom and packs his things into a suitcase. Mum calls him a bunch of words I'm not supposed to say. Now I'm crying. I don't want Dad to go. I don't want anyone to say the D word. I race downstairs and stand in front of the door. Dad stops in the hall and looks back over his shoulder. He says, "You can't keep living in the past. There's nothing we can do about it now." I step in front of him to keep him from leaving. He's dead. Dad walks right through me, then gets in his car and drives off. Mum screams, "Don't ever come back." I stand in the front yard until Dad turns the corner and disappears. Mum goes to the kitchen and pours a glass of wine, then puts her head down on the table and cries. When I try to hug her, her breath steams up and she shivers. I wish I could do something. Anything to let her know I'm here. To tell her that I love her. That I love Dad. And I don't want to ever hear them say the D word again. You're not supposed to get into a stranger's car. Not in this day and age. Not in any day and age, really. But I have places to be, people to see. It's like that Robert Frost poem, you know. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. My wife, Eleanor, is pregnant. Any day now, the docs say. Any day now and I'll be a father. Stuff like that puts things into perspective, you know. Changes how you view the world. Changes how far you are willing to go. So I got into the car with a stranger. Couldn't wait any longer. Promises to keep. The woods are lovely, no doubt about that though. Dark and deep too. I walked maybe 5 miles from my piece of shit car before the stranger pulled over. In that time I met them, many of them. Beings of the deep and the dark. Lost wanderers and souls. Pale faces and muttering voices creeping through the dusk. But I didn't fear them. Haunted back roads or not, I had places to be, and I told them as much. I have to get home, I said. Home to my wife and soon to be family. A particularly gaunt figure wouldn't leave me be though. Followed me for miles, his harrowing shape always in the periphery. Gentle whispers in my ear. Stay with us. Come with us. You belong with us. But I persevered. For Ellie. For my boy. I could feel his breath in my neck when the stranger pulled over. Cold as ice. Emotionless. Hollow. Violently lonely. I knew then that if the car hadn't pulled over, if the stranger hadn't stopped, that I would be with them now. The lost ones. Forever shackled to this road. To the depths of the forest. Alone and afraid. "Thank you, sir," I said, climbing into the back seat. "I'm in quite a rush." The stranger reminded me of my father, a little bit older maybe, in his 50s or 60s. Calm, gentle exterior. I told him about my wife and my current predicament, but he never spoke a word, just nodded silently, eyes shifting back and forth between the road and the rearview mirror. "The woods are lovely, dark and deep," I muttered to myself. When he pulled over, my mind was already starting to slip, a heavy mist descending on an already worn and weary soul. He turned around slowly, tears streaming down his face. He seemed so familiar then, like a faraway memory of something that never happened. "You can rest now, Dad," the stranger said. "You've kept your promise. You found me. I have promises to keep. It wasn't your fault," he continued. The brakes just failed. It happens. Just one of those things. And miles to go before I sleep. Please, Dad, you have to move on. You have to rest. And miles to go before I sleep. I don't know whether you've heard that before. Yawning is generally contagious, even between humans and dogs, but not with psychopaths. It's to do with the lack of empathy. The more cold-hearted a person is, the less likely they are to yawn back at you. I've been studying psychopathic behaviours for the last year. Sometimes I talk to people who've been diagnosed. I provide a friendly ear, some kind advice, or simply a conversation. They've really helped with my understanding of some topics. I offer to get hot drinks. Pay attention to how people take their coffee. Here's a little known fact. Psychopaths often prefer bitter tastes. Now I sit facing the board, giving a presentation on psychopathy. My hair is immaculately combed to one side, my clothes neatly pressed. I sip my sugary tea, cover my mouth when a yawn carries through the audience. Small details, but I'm a perfectionist. In conclusion, I say, giving a wild, trustworthy smile, I'm sure you can see that I was misdiagnosed. I am of no danger to myself or others. I'm sure the other residents here can also attest to that. I never harmed because I wanted to. I hated every minute. I harmed to try and fit in with my awful cousins, something I no longer believe is necessary. I am not them. I am a stronger person now because of you all. As I leave the room so they can discuss my case, I consider what my first steps will be upon release. I'm pretty sure I've got the psychiatry board charmed. Parents will be so relieved to hear that I'm all better. My research has paid off, and also given me some wonderful ideas. Who better than me to follow in the footsteps of the greats like Ted Bundy and John Wayne Gacy? But unlike them, I'll be smart enough to evade notice. I feel like I'm about to lose my voice, what the fuck? Yeah, after everything I just read, I'm not gonna sleep for like a month, and my trust issues have just been made like 10 times worse. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please like, comment, subscribe, it helps me out a bunch, and if you turn out to not like my content anymore later on down the road, then you can always unsubscribe if you truly want to. It's completely your choice. But yeah, I don't have that much else to say, so I guess I'll see you whenever I next see you.